Hello, divine creations, divine marvels. So the Course in Miracles, and actually really any non-dual spiritual teaching, points out that there's nothing to fear. And why is there nothing to fear? Because our soul, which in other traditions might be called, in the Course they call it the soul, but in other traditions it might be called the essence, our true nature, our Buddha nature, our true self, is literally unharmable. Meaning, at our core, according to all these spiritual traditions, and don't take my word for it, and don't take the tradition's words for it, find out for yourself, that at our core, we're literally incapable of being harmed. Immortal, pure, perfect, and untouchable. In a sense, there's a part of us that's always free, regardless of external circumstances. And that's a pretty radical claim, pretty radical message, and of course completely counter to our experience as human beings. And yet with some inquiry and some exploration, many people, and I'm one of them, has found out that it is absolutely true. Absolutely 1,000,000,000% true. I primarily found this out actually not through the Course in Miracles, but through the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, who basically said, for every thought that arises, ask yourself, for whom is that thought? And it's not so much asking to get an intellectual answer, it's literally asking who, or another way to say it is what. What is aware of that? And what I noticed, which is really the essence of what Ramana taught, is that whatever I was experiencing, whether it was pleasure, whether it was pain, whether it was ecstasy, whether it was misery, there was something that was aware of that was a neutral witness. And that's what opened the door to me to this teaching, that not opened the door, that made it real. That there really was a part of me that was always at peace, no matter what. So that's really a core teaching of the Course, is that peace isn't something we obtain. Peace is something we remove. We remove the obstacles from it, and then it's already there. It's just, we're playing peekaboo with it. And so the Course very lovingly helps us to stop playing peekaboo with peace. Stop playing, stop hiding, stop obscuring what's already there. Peace, love, joy, gratitude, expansive bliss. So then the question is, how do we get there? And the Course is one way. And the Course doesn't claim to be the only way, which is something I love about it. It's very non-dogmatic in that sense, very not rigid. And so it talks about the proper use of denial. And actually what it says is that improper use of denial is what causes all of our problems. Because, okay, so let's just assume for the moment that the Course is right. And again, you can investigate and find out for yourself that we are already at peace. Well, why is that not our experience? That's a very logical, legitimate question, because most people's experience is that they're not at peace. Not only does the Course say you're at peace, you're at peace. It says you're at peace all the time. You always have been at peace, and you always will be at peace. And so that's a bit of a what? Because that's not most people's experience. So then the question is, what's going on? So the Course then says that we have all these blocks to peace that keep us from experiencing that. And it's like, okay, but what? Because we're not aware of those blocks. And here's where, God bless the ego. It's a mastermind. So the ego is basically everything that keeps us from being aware of that. And simultaneously, it also keeps unconscious the very things that keep us from that awareness of peace. For example, the ego will have thoughts like, I'm no good. Okay, a thought like that will block us from peace, right? If we believe that we're no good, it'll keep us from feeling peace. Now, so we have that thought, and it's in operation 24/7 below the surface. But we're only aware of it every now and then. It's not like all day long we're walking thinking, I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good. We'd be aware of it then. So it has that deep-seated belief, I'm no good, and then it denies it. It literally keeps it under the surface so that it can operate and we can have the effect of not being at peace, but we're not conscious of the cause. That's how the ego operates, is it keeps the causes unconscious, and then it lets us only experience the effects. Like, what's the effect of I'm no good? Depression, worry, low self-esteem, just general misery. And then all sorts of other things which attach to it. So we get to experience the effects, but we don't get to experience we're not clear on what the cause is. And then the ego takes the effects and draws untrue conclusions. Like, there's the belief I'm no good. There's the effects of like depression, unhappiness. And then it'll say things like, well, life is hard. So there's this depression, and then it's like, I'm never going to be happy. So not only does it keep the cause unconscious, but then it takes the effect, depression, unhappiness, and then spins more misery, which seems to reinforce the depression, which unconsciously reinforces the cause, the I'm no good. But and so it's not about, so what we need to do is to bring to consciousness the cause and then offer it over to God, to Christ, to Holy Spirit, to higher self, and ask to be shown the truth. So when we become aware of a thought, I'm no good, it's not that we deny it, because that's what the ego does. It's to the contrary. We look it right in the eye with the help of higher power, of Holy Spirit, of higher self. We look at it, and then we are willing to release it. We deny that it's true, but we don't deny the existence of the thought. For example, I found myself, I sometimes have trouble sleeping, and last night was staying in a new place, and then there was kind of some worry, like, oh, am I going to be able to sleep? And I caught myself thinking, oh, I'm not worried about it, which is a very distorted way of being, because it's combining two things. It's denying the fear with spiritual truth. The spiritual truth is there's nothing to fear. Whether I sleep or not, I will be fine. That's a beautiful affirmation of what's true. My essence, my soul, is going to be fine whether this body sleeps or not. And to boot, of course, I'm hopping into the future and da-da-da. But look at how I did it. I lied. I said, I'm not worried about it. But that's actually a lie. There was some worry. So that's, people talk about spiritual ego, spiritual bypass. There it is. It's lying. So an honest thing, if I'd been honest, what I could have said or done was, oh, there's some worry about falling asleep. Offer that over to higher self, higher power. And then listen for the voice of truth, which might have been something like, well, actually, there's nothing to fear. Actually, right here, right now, I'm fine. But not in a way that denies what's going on inside here. That is how the ego maintains itself, by keeping such things under the wraps. And the Course in Miracles is the exact opposite of that. It's uncovering and bringing to the light those things. It's not denying their existence, it's denying their power, but not through pretending it's not there. Because that's hide and seek, and that just keeps the